Hello, and welcome to a video about something nobody finds particularly thrilling, but that we all need to think about nonetheless: taxes. It's a bit like flossing, really. You know you should be doing it, you understand it's good for you in the long run, but actually getting around to it? Well, that's another story, isn't it? Today we're going to delve into the murky, often confusing world of tax filing deadlines for 2025. And don't worry, if your eyes are already starting to glaze over, just remember, this is important. This isn't like missing the season finale of a show you can just stream later. This is the IRS we're talking about, and they have a way of making you pay attention. So buckle up, grab your favorite beverage. I'm partial to a nice, calming chamomile tea myself when discussing taxes. And let's navigate these deadlines together, shall we? The first date you need to etch into your brain, preferably with something other than a Sharpie, is January 15th, 2025. Why? Because that, my friends, is the deadline for making your fourth quarter estimated tax payment for the year 2024. Yes, you heard that right. We're not even into the new year yet, and the IRS is already knocking on your metaphorical door, hand outstretched. Now, estimated taxes might sound about as appealing as a root canal, but they're a crucial part of the tax system, especially if you're self-employed, a freelancer, or have income that doesn't involve taxes being automatically withheld. Think of it like this. Instead of one big, scary tax bill in April, you're breaking it down into more manageable chunks throughout the year. It's like financial interval training, except instead of getting ripped, you're just avoiding the wrath of the IRS. So, mark your calendars, set reminders on your phone, tattoo it on your forehead if you must, but whatever you do, don't forget about January 15th. Trust me, your bank account will thank you. Next up, we have the big one, the day that looms over us all like a particularly aggressive pigeon, April 15th, 2025. This, my friends, is the Super Bowl of tax deadlines, the day when you gather all your paperwork, your receipts, your W-2s, and possibly a voodoo doll of your accountant, and face the music. This is the deadline for filing your 2024 tax return. It's the day you tell the government all about your financial comings and goings for the previous year, and they, in turn, decide if you owe them more money, or better yet, if they owe you. It's a bit like a financial blind date, but instead of hoping for a second date, you're just praying you don't end up with a massive bill. Of course, if the thought of filing by April 15th sends you into a cold sweat, you can always request an extension. But be warned, an extension is not a free pass. You still need to pay any taxes owed by the April deadline, or you'll be hit with penalties and interest. So, you filed for an extension, did you? Well, congratulations on kicking the can down the road. You've bought yourself some extra time, but don't get too comfortable. The taxman always comes calling eventually, and in this case, that eventually is October 15th, 2025. This is the final, non-negotiable deadline to file your 2024 tax return if you requested an extension. No more excuses, no more delays. This is it. Time to face the music, or more accurately, face the IRS. And let's be honest, nobody wants to mess with the IRS. They're like the one friend you have who always wins at Monopoly, except instead of hotels on Boardwalk, they take your actual money. So use this extra time wisely. Get your paperwork in order, consult with a tax professional if you need to, and for goodness sake, don't forget about this deadline. Because trust me, the IRS won't. Just when you thought you could breathe a sigh of relief, another tax deadline rears its ugly head. This time, it's June 15th, 2025, and it's time for your second quarter estimated tax payment for 2025. Yes, you read that right. We're back to the joys of estimated taxes. Remember those manageable chunks we talked about earlier? Well, it's time to pony up another one. Think of it like a quarterly subscription service, except instead of getting a box of goodies, you're just ensuring the government doesn't come after you with a vengeance. So put on your big boy pants, grab your calculator, and figure out how much you owe. And whatever you do, don't be late. The IRS charges penalties and interest on late payments, and trust me, their rates are about as much fun as a root canal without anesthesia. And finally, we arrive at our last tax deadline for 2025, September 15th. This is it, the home stretch, the final push before we can all collectively forget about taxes for a few blissful months. This, my friends, is the deadline for your third quarter estimated tax payment for 2025. Yes, I know. It feels like we just did this. But hey, that's the beauty of estimated taxes. They come around more often than your annoying neighbor who borrows your tools and never returns them. But unlike your neighbor, you can't just ignore the IRS. They have ways of making you pay attention. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and let's get this final payment out of the way. We're almost there. GAP 3S. Now, let's talk about something that might not sound thrilling but is absolutely crucial: keeping records and organizing your documents for tax filing. Trust me, your future self will thank you. First off, why is this important? Well, having your documents organized not only makes tax filing easier, but also helps you avoid costly mistakes. Imagine the peace of mind knowing you have everything you need at your fingertips, rather than scrambling at the last minute. It also makes it easier if you ever face an audit or need to provide proof of your expenses. So, how do you stay organized throughout the year? Here are a few tips. 1. Whether you prefer digital or physical files, create a system that works for you. Divide your documents into categories like income, expenses, deductions, and investments. 2. There are numerous apps and software designed to help you keep track of your finances. Tools like QuickBooks, TurboTax, and even simple spreadsheets can be lifesavers. 3. Don't wait until the end of the year to gather your documents. Make it a habit to update your records monthly. This way, you'll avoid the year-end rush and reduce stress. 4. For every deductible expense, keep the receipt. This could be in digital form. Many apps allow you to snap a photo and categorize it. 5. Always have a backup of your important documents. Use cloud storage services like Google Drive or Dropbox to ensure you don't lose anything crucial. 6. Sometimes it's worth investing in a tax professional to help you set up a system that works best for you. They can offer personalized advice and ensure you're not missing out on any deductions. Remember, a little effort throughout the year can save you a lot of headaches when tax season rolls around. Stay organized, stay prepared, and you'll breeze through your tax filing with ease. GAP 3S. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. GAP 3S. Now, let's delve into something you definitely want to avoid: penalties for missing tax deadlines. Missing a tax deadline can lead to various penalties and interest charges, which can add up quickly and become a financial burden. But don't worry, we're here to help you understand what these penalties are and how you can avoid them. First, let's break down the common penalties. 1. This is usually 5% of the unpaid taxes for each month or part of a month that your return is late, up to a maximum of 25% of your unpaid taxes. 1. This penalty is generally 0.5% of your unpaid taxes for each month or part of a month that you don't pay, up to a maximum of 25% of your unpaid taxes. 1. In addition to the penalties, the IRS will also charge interest on any unpaid taxes from the due date of the return until the date you pay in full. The interest rate is determined quarterly and is the federal short-term rate plus 3%. So, how can you avoid these penalties? Here are some tips. 1. Even if you can't pay the full amount you owe, it's crucial to file your tax return by the deadline to avoid the failure to file penalty. You can always set up a payment plan with the IRS if you owe more than you can pay immediately. 1. Try to pay as much of your tax bill as possible by the deadline to minimize the failure to pay penalty and interest charges. 1. If you need more time to file your return, you can request an extension. However, remember that an extension to file is not an extension to pay. You'll still need to pay any estimated taxes owed by the original deadline. 1. As we mentioned earlier, keeping your documents organized can help you avoid last-minute stress and ensure you meet all deadlines. But what if you do miss a deadline? 1. The sooner you file, the lower your penalties will be. The failure to file penalty increases the longer you wait. 1. Even partial payments can help reduce the amount of interest and penalties you'll owe. 1. If you can't pay your tax bill in full, the IRS offers payment plans that allow you to pay your taxes over time. 1. If you're overwhelmed, consider consulting a tax professional. They can help you navigate the process and may negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Remember, it's always better to address these issues sooner rather than later. Procrastination can be costly when it comes to taxes. Stay informed, stay organized, and you'll be well on your way to avoiding unnecessary penalties. GAP 3S. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. GAP 3S. Before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize the key dates and tips we've discussed to help you stay on top of your tax responsibilities for 2025. First, mark these crucial dates on your calendar. 1. January 15th, 2025. The first deadline one. April 15th, 2025. Tax Day 1. June 15th, 2025. Second quarter estimated taxes 1. September 15th, 2025. The final countdown 1. October 15th, 2025. The extension deadline. Now, here are a few essential tips to keep in mind. 1. Even if you can't pay the full amount, file your return by the deadline to avoid penalties. 1. Try to pay as much of your tax bill as possible by the due date to minimize penalties and interest. 1. Remember, an extension to file is not an extension to pay. 1. Staying organized throughout the year can help you avoid last-minute stress. 1. The sooner you file and pay, the lower your penalties will be. 1. If overwhelmed, consult a tax professional for guidance and negotiation with the IRS. Being proactive about your tax responsibilities can save you a lot of stress and money. So, go ahead and set reminders for these dates, keep your documents in order, and stay ahead of your tax obligations. Gap 3S. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. And there you have it. Those are your key tax filing deadlines for 2025. I know, it's enough to make you want to fake your own death and move to a remote island with no internet access. But trust me, it's better to just face the music and get it over with. So mark those dates on your calendar, set reminders on your phone, and maybe invest in a good therapist. And remember, the IRS might be powerful, but you're more powerful. You have the power of knowledge, the power of preparation, and most importantly, the power of procrastination. Okay, maybe not that last one, but seriously, stay on top of your taxes and you'll save yourself a lot of stress and potentially a lot of money down the line. And on that cheerful note, I'm going to go pour myself a stiff drink. Thanks for watching. Make sure to mark these dates on your calendar and stay ahead of your tax obligations. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more helpful tips.